They say blood is thicker than water, but greed can thin out even a mother's love for her own child. You know that sick feeling you get in your stomach when you realize someone you trusted has been lying to your face for months? That's exactly what hit me when I opened that bank statement and saw what my ex-wife had really been doing with our son's money. Let me back up. My name is Connor, and 3 years ago my marriage to Ashley fell apart. Not because of anything dramatic, just two people who grew in different directions. We handled our divorce pretty civilly, all things considered. We had joint custody of our 10-year-old son Tyler, and I'd been religiously paying child support plus contributing to his college savings account every month. Ashley seemed to be doing well. She'd moved into a nice apartment, started dating someone new, a guy named Brad who worked in sales. I was actually happy for her. Tyler seemed to like Brad well enough, and as long as my son was happy I could live with my ex moving on. But then came that phone call that changed everything. "Connor, we need to talk about increasing Tyler's support payments," Ashley said, her voice carrying that businesslike tone she used when she wanted something. "His expenses are going up. School activities, clothes, food costs, everything's more expensive now." I was confused. I'd been paying exactly what the court ordered, plus extra for his savings. "Ashley, I'm already paying above what's required, and I put $300 a month into Tyler's college fund. What additional expenses are we talking about?" "Well, Brad thinks we should be putting more away for Tyler's future. Maybe we could bump up that college fund contribution to $500 a month." Something felt off about this conversation. Ashley had never shown much interest in long-term financial planning before, and suddenly she was concerned about increasing Tyler's college fund. But I loved my son, so I agreed to think about it. That weekend, when Tyler was staying with me, I decided to check on his college savings account. I'd set it up years ago with both Ashley and me as account holders so either of us could monitor it. What I saw when I logged in made my blood run cold. The account balance was $847. This account should have had over $30,000 in it. I'd been contributing religiously for years, plus there had been money from Tyler's grandparents, birthday gifts, everything. Where had it all gone? I printed out the transaction history and my hands were literally shaking as I read through it. Withdrawal after withdrawal, all approved by Ashley. $500 here for educational expenses, $1,000 there for Tyler's medical needs, $2,000 for school supplies and equipment, but the dates didn't make sense. Some of these educational expenses happened during summer break. The medical needs withdrawals didn't correspond with any doctor visits I knew about. And $1,500 for school supplies. What was Tyler buying? Diamond-encrusted textbooks? I kept digging through the statements, and that's when I found the real smoking gun. 3 weeks earlier, there had been a withdrawal for $8,000 coded as family emergency expenses. I called Ashley immediately. "Hey, is Tyler okay? I saw there was a large withdrawal from his account for an emergency." "What happened?" There was a long pause. "Oh, yeah, Tyler's fine. I just had to handle some unexpected costs. I'll pay it back soon." "What kind of costs, Ashley? $8,000 is a lot of money." "Connor, don't interrogate me. I'm Tyler's mother, and I wouldn't take money unless it was absolutely necessary. Trust me on this." But I didn't trust her. Something in her voice, the way she deflected my questions, told me there was more to this story. So I decided to do something I never thought I'd have to do. I hired a private investigator. The PI's report came back 2 weeks later, and it was worse than I'd imagined. Ashley and Brad had taken a luxury cruise to the Caribbean. The total cost, just over $8,000. The dates matched exactly with that family emergency withdrawal from Tyler's college fund, but it got worse. The investigator had tracked their social media posts, credit card receipts, everything. That $500 educational expense from July, that was the same day Brad posted photos from an expensive steakhouse dinner. $1,000 medical expense corresponded with Ashley buying Brad a new watch for his birthday. My ex-wife had been systematically looting our son's college fund to finance her new relationship. I felt sick. This wasn't just betraying me, this was stealing from Tyler's future. Every dollar she'd taken was a dollar less for his education, his opportunities, his dreams. But I'm not someone who acts impulsively when I'm angry. I knew I needed to handle this the right way, through the legal system. I contacted my divorce attorney, a sharp woman named Patricia who had helped me through the original proceedings. "Connor, this is financial abuse of a minor's assets," Patricia told me after reviewing everything. "We can take this to court, but you'll need to be prepared for a fight. Ashley's going to deny everything and probably claim the money was used legitimately for Tyler's needs. I have bank records, receipts, a private investigator's report. How can she deny photographic evidence?" You'd be surprised what people will deny when they're cornered, but we have a strong case. The question is, are you prepared for how this might affect Tyler? Court proceedings can be traumatic for children. That was the hardest part. I didn't want to put my son through a legal battle, but I also couldn't let Ashley continue stealing from his future. I decided to give her one last chance to make this right. I arranged to meet Ashley at a coffee shop, bringing copies of all the evidence with me. When I laid out the bank statements and the investigator's report on the table between us, her face went completely white. "Where did you get these?" she whispered. The bank statements are from Tyler's account, which I'm legally entitled to access. The rest came from a private investigator. Ashley, you stole nearly $30,000 from our son's college fund to pay for your boyfriend's lifestyle. She started to cry, but I wasn't falling for the tears this time. I was going to pay it back, she said. Brad promised he'd help me replace the money. We just needed some time to get our finances together. When Tyler graduates high school and needs that money for college, you've been doing this for over a year. This wasn't a one-time mistake. This was systematic theft. Don't call it theft. I'm his mother. I was just borrowing. You were stealing. And now you want me to pay you even more child support while you continue raiding Tyler's savings. How does that make sense? She couldn't answer that. She just kept crying and making excuses about how hard it was to manage expenses, how Brad was going through a rough patch with his job, how she'd never intended for it to go this far. Here's what's going to happen, I told her. You're going to return every penny to Tyler's account within 30 days or I'm taking this to court. And if we go to court, I'm asking for full custody and reimbursement of all the stolen funds plus legal fees. Connor, please, if this comes out, it'll ruin my relationship with Tyler. He'll never forgive me. You should have thought of that before you spent his college money on vacation cruises. She begged me to reconsider, promised she'd make it right, even offered to sign over some of her assets as collateral. But 30 days came and went with no money returned to Tyler's account. Ashley had called once to say she needed more time, that Brad was working on getting the funds together. But I was done with excuses. We went to court. The hearing was supposed to be a routine child support modification review, but Patricia had filed additional motions regarding the misappropriation of Tyler's funds. When Ashley walked in with her lawyer, I could see the panic in her eyes. The judge, an older man named Judge Morrison, reviewed all the evidence methodically. Bank statements, transaction records, the private investigator's report, even social media posts showing Ashley and Brad's expensive lifestyle during the same time periods as the withdrawals. Ashley's lawyer tried to argue that she had legitimate parental authority to use the funds for Tyler's welfare, but Judge Morrison wasn't buying it. Counselor, I'm looking at $8,000 withdrawn for a family emergency, on the same dates your client was posting vacation photos from a cruise ship. Are you seriously arguing that a luxury Caribbean cruise constitutes an emergency expense for a 10-year-old child? Ashley's lawyer had no good answer for that. Then Judge Morrison turned his attention to Ashley directly. Mrs. Patterson, you were receiving regular child support payments from your ex-husband, correct? Yes, Your Honor. And those payments were sufficient to cover your son's basic needs as originally determined by this court? Yes, Your Honor. So why did you need to access his college savings account for additional funds? Ashley started to stammer about increased costs and unexpected expenses, but the judge cut her off. Mrs. Patterson, I have evidence here showing you withdrew money from your son's account for adult entertainment, vacation travel, and luxury purchases for your boyfriend. This court takes a very dim view of parents who steal from their children's future. The word steal hung in the courtroom air like a thunderclap. Judge Morrison's final ruling was swift and decisive. Ashley was ordered to repay the full amount to Tyler's college fund within 90 days plus interest and legal fees, but that wasn't all. Because she had demonstrated poor financial judgment and breach of fiduciary duty regarding the minor child's assets, my custody arrangement was modified from joint to primary custody with me. Ashley would have supervised visitation only until she completed a court-ordered financial responsibility course and underwent counseling. As we left the courtroom, Ashley was crying openly. Her lawyer looked defeated. Brad, who had been sitting in the gallery, couldn't even make eye contact with anyone. The saddest part came later, when I had to explain to Tyler why his living arrangements were changing. I kept the explanation age appropriate, just that his mom had made some financial mistakes and needed time to fix them. Tyler was confused and upset, but he was young enough that routine adjustment came naturally. 3 months later, Ashley had managed to scrape together about half the money, selling her car and taking out loans. Her relationship with Brad didn't survive the court proceedings apparently. He wasn't as committed to helping her fix this as he'd promised. Today, Tyler lives with me full-time and his college fund is slowly being rebuilt. Ashley sees him every other weekend under less restrictive visitation now that she's completed her court-mandated programs. She's genuinely remorseful about what happened, and we've managed to establish a civil co-parenting relationship focused on Tyler's well-being. But I learned something important from this whole experience. Sometimes the people closest to us, people we trust completely, can make choices that are so selfish and destructive that it permanently changes how we see them. Ashley isn't the same person I married 15 years ago, and she's definitely not the same person I trusted to co-parent our son. Tyler's college fund has grown back to about $15,000 now. Not where it should be, but we're working on it. More importantly, Tyler knows his father will always fight for his future, even when it's painful and complicated. Sometimes protecting the people you love means being willing to be the bad guy in someone else's story. Ashley probably tells people I was vindictive and cruel for taking her to court. But when I tuck Tyler into bed at night and he talks about his dreams for college and his future career, I know I made the right choice. Trust once broken can sometimes be repaired, but betraying a child's future That's something you can't just apologize away. That requires action, consequences, and a long road back to earning respect again. And that $8,000 cruise Ashley took with Brad, I hope it was worth it because it cost her everything that actually mattered.